my name is Zoe, I'm the Artistic Director of Big Telly, and I came up with the idea of doing a show called Department Story. And what I think I was interested in is the idea of different stories belonging to different departments. So the idea that the overcoat might be in the menswear section, and the red shoes might be in the shoe department. All of that kind of intrigued me as a way to categorise stories and as a way to create a kind of theatrical anthology of stories.
I'm Jack Hardiker. I'm an artist and designer, and I've led the creation of Remote Control. Remote Control is an entirely new digital theatre platform. It gives online audiences a new agency that they've never had before. The online audience can interact with actors, they can interact with the physical audience, they can make things happen in the space. So for example, they can make lights change. They can also trigger physical things to happen, so they can trigger smoke or they can trigger a moving mannequin. The online audience are greeted with an antiquated CCTV system. They're able to look through different cameras in the space, and they're also able to chat to their fellow audience members or to the cast themselves. And then there's this additional functionality, which is these buttons that allow them to affect things in the space. So whether you've got an audience of 50 or you've got an audience of 500, they can all interact with the platform and they can all make things happen in the space.
I'm also interested in site-specific work, but in taking places that are familiar and using the way that people use them as a kind of format for how to tell stories. So we've done The Worst Cafe in the World, where all the stories were on a menu and people were seated and they ordered them. And this time we were looking at what is behaviour like in a department store. How do we use that concept of browsing? How do we invite an audience to re-encounter that space? High streets are, I think, a place for people to connect. And for me, they have a lot in common with theatre. You know, when you go to a department store and somebody tells you a story, and you never just go and buy a wedding dress. You get a story about different weddings, about different experiences people have had. People invest in items and invest their futures in items, and I thought that was all interesting. We came up with the idea very early on that there was a woman who might want to return her life, and a woman arrives in a taxi with a load of things that she wants to return because they all, for her, represent disappointment. The things that were promised through advertising, that certain products will enable us to create a dream and to create a future.
So me, Zoe Seaton and the whole cast worked closely to make sure the Department Story worked really well in this new form of hybrid theatre. I'm particularly interested in evoking the feeling of liveness, but from people's homes. So we really wanted to somehow involve people in the physical space itself, and that's where these interactions and triggers really play a big part.
So I got to know Jack Hardiker during the pandemic, and we found that we had a real shared interest in how to make the live experience online as kind of visceral and immediate and impactful as it possibly could. So we started working on a department story and how there might be in-store shoppers and how there might be online shoppers, and how we could go about creating a relationship between the two.
We brought together an amazing team of developers and designers from around the UK. In particular, partnering with the developers at a few. Ewan Wilcox, the lead developer there, worked tirelessly to kind of make the video and interaction work seamlessly and to reduce the latency on the cameras, so that when someone presses a button online, they see that interaction happening in the space immediately. We're all excited to get back into theatres, but I think it's important not to forget the amazing work that was done by companies like Big Telly throughout COVID, and the opportunity that presented to open theatre up to entirely new audiences.